Welcome to the Explainer. Do me a quick favor right now. Just take a second and think about the surface beneath your feet at this very moment. Whether you're standing up, sitting at a desk, or lying down with your feet against a wall, chances are that surface is completely flat. It's uniform, it's predictable, it's identical in absolutely every direction. And as we're about to see, this perfectly flat surface is quietly causing a massive biological mismatch in your body.
To figure out why, let's look at the first piece of this anatomical puzzle. Your foot, just one foot, has 26 separate bones.
But wait, it doesn't stop there. It also contains 33 distinct joints. Seriously, think about that for a second. A bridge doesn't have joints. A support column doesn't have joints. Joints only exist where a structure literally has to constantly change its shape to adapt to changing conditions.
And to top the whole thing off, the sole of your foot is packed with over 200,000 sensory nerve endings per square centimeter. That makes it one of the most highly sensitive surfaces on your entire body. So this brings up the ultimate question we're exploring today. Why on earth does a simple weight-bearing platform need such extreme, hypersensitive complexity?
The foot's hidden complexity, evolution versus reality. Okay, let's dive right into this bizarre evolutionary mismatch.
Your foot is the most complex mechanical structure in your body relative to its size. It was built for 2 million years of walking on unpredictable, natural terrain. We're talking soil, rocks, roots, sand, surfaces that are literally never identical twice. And this comparison perfectly captures the crazy juxtaposition we're dealing with today. On natural terrain, every single step is like a unique computing challenge. The foot has to sense the ground, crunch the data, and adjust those 33 joints in milliseconds. But look over at the left side. Concrete delivers an identical, unchanging, flat force, block after block after block. We are taking a structure designed for high-resolution adaptation and feeding it a totally impoverished, one-dimensional data stream.
Section 2, Bones, Muscles, and Arches. Let's trace how this creates a compounding domino effect throughout your body, starting with your physical architecture. The absolute key here is something called Wolff's Law. Discovered way back in 1892, this law tells us that bone isn't just static, dead scaffolding. It's a living material. It constantly builds and destroys its spongy inner architecture based on the specific mechanical forces it deals with. Basically, if you stress a bone in a certain direction, your cells build new minerals along those exact stress lines.
So let's apply Wolff's Law to flat pavement. When you slam your foot down on a single vertical vector on concrete for decades, the bone develops parallel reinforcement along that one single axis, but it thins out everywhere else. I mean, think about what that means for a 75-year-old. The bone that breaks in a fall isn't just suffering from age-related density loss. That bone's internal lattice was physically sculpted by decades of uniform loading. It's incredibly strong vertically, but it's dangerously weak if you fall sideways. The hip that fractures at 75 was physically shaped by the flat sidewalks walked on at 45.
And hey, it's not just the bones. Take a look at the medial longitudinal arch, basically the built-in spring in your foot. On uneven terrain, the little intrinsic foot muscles fire in constantly varying patterns, keeping them strong. On concrete, those identical loading vectors cause those muscles to atrophy because they lack the variable movements they crave. They aren't overworked, they are profoundly under-challenged. Plus, the plantar fascia spring becomes dangerously rigid in just one plane. If you've ever felt that sharp morning pain of plantar fasciitis, part of that is your spring resisting deformation because it's been remodeled into a rigid, single-axis structure by years of concrete.
Section 3, Nerves, Brain, and Balance. Now let's shift over to the neurological system and see how this messes with your brain's calibration.
This brings us to what's called the double deprivation. Actually, I'd love for you to test this out later. Stand barefoot on a carpet with your eyes closed. Notice the slight textures, the little irregularities. Now, put on your thickest walking shoes and try it again. That muffled, deadened feeling is what your brain is dealing with all day. Concrete gives zero terrain variability, and modern shoes, which easily pack 2 to 4 centimeters of foam, filter out whatever vital sensory signals are left. You are literally starving your cerebellum of the high-resolution data it desperately needs to calibrate your balance.
This quote here, it's an absolute game changer. It totally reframes how we look at physical decline. We see an older person stumbling or losing confidence on an uneven lawn, and we just assume, well, that's inevitable neural aging. But it's not entirely aging. It's a degraded cerebellum calibration. Your brain's balance system has been trained on a simple, flat surface for decades. So when it finally encounters a bumpy garden path, it panics. It just has no calibrated model for complex terrain.
Section 4, the gait and ankle trap. Let's see how this sensory deprivation actually affects your real-world movement, specifically looking at your ankles and your walking stride.
Let's talk about something we all hate: ankle sprains. Your peroneal muscles run right down the outside of your lower leg, and they're supposed to fire reactively when your ankle rolls inward to stop a sprain. But on concrete, there's zero side-to-side tilting, no hidden rocks, no roots. So your peroneal muscles don't necessarily get weak, they just get dangerously slow. They completely lose the reactive speed that variable terrain normally trains. When you finally do step on a rogue rock, the muscle is there, but its reaction time is just too sluggish to catch the roll.
Which leads us to the Gait paradox. Researchers at Harvard found something that sounds totally backwards. A perfectly stereotyped metronome-like walking stride on flat pavement actually predicts a higher fall risk. Why? Because a stride that is excessively regular means your motor system is just running a single rigid template. It has lost its ability to adapt to sudden changes. A healthy walker on a dirt path naturally has subtle stride-to-stride variability. They're constantly micro-adjusting in real time. The rigid concrete walker, they've lost that adaptive capacity entirely.
Section 5. Reversing the damage safely. All right, here is the incredible news. Because this whole mess is mostly just an adaptation to a bad environment, it means we can reverse it.
Now hold on, don't just chuck your shoes in the trash and sprint barefoot into the woods. You have to use a safe stepped progression to recalibrate your systems. Step 1 is super simple. Walk on grass or smooth dirt in your current shoes. Grab some walking poles if you need to. They offer a great safety margin while your balance recalibrates. Then, over the next 2 to 4 weeks, you progress to gravel and woodland trails. Only after your intrinsic muscles and reaction times recover should you gradually transition to footwear with a thinner, flexible sole.
What's amazing is that the first thing you'll notice isn't necessarily physical strength, it's confidence. That little bit of hesitation you feel stepping onto uneven ground, it will vanish naturally. Not because you decided to be braver, but because your cerebellum has actually rebuilt its terrain model. The body remembers how to process complex data. Your 33 joints and 200,000 nerve endings haven't forgotten how to do their jobs, they've just been waiting for the right signal. The confidence follows the calibration, and the calibration follows the surface.
So it all comes down to a choice. Your foot was quite literally built for the complex, the variable, and the unpredictable. Concrete has withheld that vital signal for decades, degrading your bones, your muscles, and your balance in the process. But the path is waiting. The dirt, the grass, the gravel, it provides the exact input your body is practically begging for. So the next time you step outside for a walk and you have to choose between the flat pavement and the uneven path, which will you choose?